Hi everybody, it's Brad with Big Family Homestead, and in this edition of the Homestead Nation, we've got a very, very cool interview for you. We are chatting with Doug and Stacy from Growing in Faith Farm, and let me tell you what, these people are hardcore awesome. Not only do they do the homesteading thing, but they do it like it was done 100 years ago. Without, very few modern conveniences, only a few little things here and there, but other than that, everything is old school, and they're doing it, and it's awesome, and I know you're going to enjoy this interview. But before we get to it, please don't forget to go to their page. Check it out, like and subscribe it. You know, it really does help them out. Same thing, since we're on the topic, please do so for myself and also Carolina Prepper 7, Tommy's channel. It really does help us out. Now, I know you're going to enjoy this with Growing in Faith Farm. So before I go, I want to tell you one thing. Have an amazing day.
All right, today we got a special episode. We got Doug and Stacy from Growing in Faith Farm here with Brad and I. And I know you can't see Doug and Stacy. We're having some video problems, but you're going to get the full audio there. And hopefully they're able to share some stuff with us, and we're able to learn some things from their experience off grid. How you doing, Doug and Stacy?
Doing good. Thanks for calling.
Doing great. Thanks.
I'm Doug.
And I'm Stacy.
That's great. Listen, man, I've been watching your channel here for a little while, and I guess the video that caught my attention right off the bat was of Doug standing outside, and I think it was freezing cold out, and it said, "Hey, if you're thinking about going off grid, here's some things you got to think about." Yeah. And man, I mean, there's those of us that are suburbanites thinking about doing this, but man, you guys are doing the deal, and I can't even imagine going back to the 18-something lifestyle that y'all are living. Where'd you come from? Because I know you didn't start out there. And how'd you end up where you're at?
So basically, Stacy and myself were totally city slickers, and we live in the Midwest in Missouri, and we lived in a major metropolitan city there. And like if you watch our videos, we kind of got tired of the rat race and all this taxes and government burden. And then we were also motivated by our spiritual walk, our walk with Yod He Vav He, what you call God, whatever. And so that was probably our main motivation. But one thing about us, I guess, is kind of unique is that when we say we're off the grid, I mean, we're like, off the grid. I mean, we don't have any solar power or wind turbines, or at first we were thinking about how we could drag those comforts with us. But then once we got out here, we kind of just shed that mentality, and then we've decided to go with it as hardcore as we can handle. Just so if, anything ever happens, a lot of people talks about the SHTF factor and all that. So if anything ever happens like that, we're already kind of used to working, kind of around that situation.
So city slickers, I saw you on your Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
You guys just sold all your stuff. You bought, 11 acres out there in Missouri, and you just started to work the land. You built your own cabin?
Right. We had a 5-bedroom, 3,000 square foot house. I had 2 businesses going. My wife is also an entrepreneur. I sold both of my businesses, and then we sold every single thing except for a couch, a table,
and some of our dishes. And we sold everything like on Craigslist. If people were coming out of our door in our house, we just got rid of everything. We shed all the stuff because, that stuff was weighing us down. And then the more, when you get out here, it was so cathartic. It felt so good to be free of all that stuff because you collect all this junk throughout your life year after year. I mean, and it was spring cleaning, and it feels great. And so it forces me even now, because we have such a tiny house, that, do I really, really need to have this, or do I have to have it? You don't. And you just need the basic necessities, some plates to eat your food off of, your water, a shelter over your head. You don't need all that stuff anymore.
And for people that don't know, or maybe haven't checked out our YouTube channel, Growing in Faith Farm, we moved into a 800 square foot log home that I built from raw cut wood, local to our area. and I constructed it in 90 days with zero carpentry skills. And my wife came up, and I slept up here in a tent with my dogs while she stayed down in town, because we had about a year and a couple of month transition from the large house. We moved into a 1-bedroom apartment to get used to the space.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found the land finally, and then built the log home.
Doug, I gotta ask you. This is Brad. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Stacy. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say for somebody, you know, Doug really didn't have much carpentry skills, but when he came down here, you know, it forces, you know, a lot of times people are like, well, I really should do this, and I should go, you know, I would really like to go off grid, or, you know, to build this house. Well, he was out here, and, you know, he had to build it because he needed a roof over his head. So, I mean, he was really on task, and no matter, I mean, if it was 100 degrees out.
And it was.
Yeah, it was. I mean, he was putting the roof on by himself. I mean, it was amazing, but he had to do it because he was out here all by himself. One time he got stuck. I mean, and he was hoping somebody would help him. And I mean, nobody even came by for a long time, and eventually got out. But I mean, it's things like that where he was forced here by himself, and there was no one to help him, and he got it done.
And besides, I had to be reunited with my bride, right? She's down in the city,
brothers,
and I'm up here.
come on, man. Yeah, I got 7 kids of my own. Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you a question. What did you do before you made this jump? What was your job? I'm just so curious. I mean, I've seen you on the Harleys in the video, you know, your videos. And what was your job before this phase of your life?
All right, so just to kind of give you an overview about myself, I've basically been in sales my whole life. I left home when I was 15, and I traveled and sold and ran sales crews. And as a matter of fact, you know, when I was 21 years old, I was the youngest manager in the country in our industry. And I had 50 people working for me directly underneath me. Then I came back to the Missouri area to raise my kids up, and then I stopped doing that, and then had various other sales jobs in this area. And then at the time we left to decide to go off grid, I owned a large lawn care and landscaping company that we started at a card table in our living room. And we also had like a 5 and dime, like a novelty type store where we sold anything from cards, NASCAR memorabilia, baseball stuff, costume jewelry for ladies, you know, just kind of an all-purpose hat, sunglasses. And so those are the businesses at the end that we closed down and liquidated, and then moved, up here. My wife is
I'm a holistic lifestyle and nutrition coach, and I also work in Montessori schools teaching physical education, movement education to children. And I do some personal training too.
Man, that's really cool. I'll tell you what, because I actually, one of my daughters has cerebral palsy, so I deal with a lot of people that are in your particular vein. And specifically, I want to say that I've been enjoying your videos, especially like the toothpaste video the tooth powder, video that you made. And I really enjoy that kind of stuff. I think that as a society, we need to get back to being self-sufficient, that what you guys are doing is really encouraging. And I think a lot of people maybe not verbalize it. So I'm verbalizing it. Thank you for showing us how to get back to where we need to be.
Because I'm married to Stace, and that's pretty much, I mean, she's progressed even the 15 years we've been married, we've made this transition, even if you don't count the grid stuff, but just eating better and trying to get away from the chemicals. And the progression has been forward. But it's amazing that, that people are so, to kind of put it in perspective, like what we're doing 1800 style, basically, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it, what do they call it? I can't think of the name, but the type of off grid that we're living with no solar power.
Primal grid.
But it's amazing that the people are so far away from how things were just 50, 80 years ago, 100 years ago, that it's just the people are so reliant on the system and going to the stores and just putting in their bodies anything on the shelves as long as it's sparkly and shiny and has a nice outer package.
You know, the funny thing is I was just reading something, and they were talking about how, the development of Tylenol and, I mean, certain medicines, that stuff was 1960s, 1950s. I mean, all these things. And what did your grandparents used to do for thousands of years? I mean, our weeds that have been around, we've been using them to help heal our bodies and take care of us. So that's what we really want to go back to.
And I think that's absolutely amazing. We just had an interview with a guy who is a permaculture guy, and I learned a ton about different herbs and what you can do basically to heal your body, how God's provided for us. And I'm all about it, man. And I'll tell you what, I'm super jazzed to be talking to you guys because you're kind of living what we want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm passing off to you.
I've checked out some of your videos, and I know that you have a heart for the Father, and that you're biblically trying to learn and get your way through that. But you're exactly right. I mean, He has provided everything that we need, and if you start tracing back pharmaceutical stuff, you're going to find that it was they outlawed holistic medicines because of the petroleum industries, so they could make drugs from the petroleum products. So it's all about the money if you follow the money. But the Father has given us every seed-bearing plant and everything here, for our good to take care of what He created.
Amen. I agree. As a matter of fact, the thing is, for me, it's funny because I come from a background of only technology, guitars, recording studios, being on the road, being a rock star, and then all of a sudden going, why the heck am I interested in honeybees? And that hitting me square in the face, and it was absolutely, for me, it was specifically a God-driven thing that he was getting ready to change my life, and I was fortunately and thankfully open enough to listen and go, okay, let's go down this road. But I know you're a beekeeper too. Tell me about your bees, bro.
Yeah, we have several hives, and we started pretty much right after we just got out here. And of course, I had zero experience in doing bees, and they are the pollinators, and the bee pollen and honey that they produce is so good for you, so good for your body, and it's also good for the plants. I mean, everything about it is just good. So, we don't really raise bees for honey; that's a byproduct. But we're interested in creating like a closed system here where we have pollinators and everything else, is dependent on each thing, and then everything closes our food system.
So I started watching your channel. Like I said, I was taken aback by the fact that here's a guy coming out of the city, much like myself, but you went out there and you built this place with your own two hands. It blew me away. Not only that, you've been able to create this closed system out there, farming, and you have the alpacas and all the animals that you're taking care of. But as much as you try, I don't know that you can ever be 100% out of the system, right? You still need cash if for nothing else, for gasoline for your truck every once in a while. Am I right?
Feed for your animals.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are you all doing right now to earn the income that you need in the situation that you're in so you can continue to live?
Okay, so one point we'd like to make is that if you don't consume a lot, you don't need to make a lot of money. That's a major misconception that a lot of people have that might be listening to your program, is that once you get off grid and you might do these kind of things, that you still need to make this large income. But really, when you dial back your consumption, you'd be surprised on how little income it takes to sustain what you're doing, right?
Right.
So Stacy still works a couple days a week.
Okay.
And then, we have sheep, and we sell sheep for meat. We have alpacas. We sell alpacas for fiber, and we also sell alpacas when we breed them. We also have chickens and eggs. There's a lot of bartering going on, when you're in a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
And, we chop our own firewood. So I guess my point is that when you don't consume a lot, you just don't need a lot of actual cash to operate. And if you think about the I know, because you guys have this prepper thing, and a lot of people are in that mindset. But when that stuff goes down, your basic problem is just going to be day-to-day necessities. Gas and that kind of stuff is really not going to be on your radar.
Right.
Well, let me, if I may, Stacy. Here's the thing. I can hear my wife, who's not here because she's at church with the kids in the VBS, and it's awesome, and they're having a good time. But I can hear my wife going, I'm not sure I want to go to that kind of lifestyle. How did you react when Doug was like, No, I really think this is what we need to do. I think this is what we're supposed to do.
Well, I mean, for both of us, we talked about it, and we kind of went into it together. But when we first went into it, I wanted to have like a propane refrigerator, and and kind of have, I said I have to have a refrigerator. I have to have a refrigerator, and I have to blow dry my hair. Those are like the two things.
Wow.
But you get out here, and then Doug talked to some Amish, and things that we were doing weren't going to work. And then the more we were kind of out here, I just kind of went with it, and you kind of see what works and what doesn't work. It was sort of like we've evolved. I mean, from the time we've moved out here, it just kind of just keeps evolving, and you figure out what can work, and you just kind of go with it. And you figure out things to do, with your hair, so that you don't have to fix it all the time. And the only thing probably for a woman, and I have to say that's probably the hardest for me, is when it's so hot and humid where we live. In the summer, it can be really brutal if you're outside. But we've kind of learned, in the morning you do your work, afternoon you kind of mellow out, do things where you're not too exerting yourself, and then late in the day you get back and start working again. But once you're out here, and the nights and the skies and the stars and the animals around you, and you just go out and you've built this whole ecosystem with the animals, you just build this kinship with them, it just kind of changes everything. Because I know for me as a person, I was like, go, 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 110% all the time, go, go, go. And now coming out here, this has really mellowed me like you cannot even imagine. So it's like one of those things, when you get out here and you just start living it, it just kind of goes into your soul. So, I mean, you just kind of, you might want to start easing into it for her, or just, see how it goes. And, the big thing is for a woman is like the kitchen, where, you can have access to water. And that's been hard for us. We're in the process of trying to get running water in the house.
I heard about the cistern. That sounds like an awesome project.
And I can't wait till we have it.
When's that?
It's just one of those things. Well, I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to ask you, where are you guys at in that project, and when do you think it's going to get started with the groundbreaking?
Okay, so, if anyone's listening, to our broadcast, in case they don't know, at the encouragement of some of our YouTube subscribers, we started a GoFundMe site to raise funds, basically, for a water cistern that we were going to put in, because we have water issues on our property and we don't have running water in our cabin. So for 4 years we've been out here, we've been hauling water from wherever basically we can get it. So we're just about at a threshold where we can order the cisterns. I already had a pile of rock dropped off. And, if it ever stops raining in this place, we're actually going to begin the project as soon as it dries up. I mean, we are getting, yesterday we got almost 7 inches of rain.
Oh, my gosh.
We had a little bit before that, we had like 5 inches of rain and hail, which totally wiped out our crops. And so
today we had 2 more inches.
Yeah, so if it ever stops, we're pretty much ready to start. I'm going to clear out the end of the barn and lay out my foundation for the tanks to sit on, and then I'll be doing all kinds of videos on running a cistern. And I would encourage anybody, even if you get off-grid property and it comes with a well or maybe there's a spring, but I would encourage you to investigate and invest in a water catchment system, because even if you have a well, wells do run dry. If you're by earthquakes, like Missouri is along an earthquake fault. If you have an earthquake, that could mess up your well water, because the cracks in the earth could deviate the water from actually reaching the point where you're drawing the water from your well. And the rain catchment system is almost foolproof. If for some reason it doesn't rain, as long as the system's still up, you can always have water hauled out in the short time that you get no rain. But I would encourage people that are thinking about living off-grid to invest in a water catchment system so they always have water, available.
Hey, Doug, what exactly is that GoFundMe account, in case people would like to go there and contribute to the cistern?
Actually, I don't know. It's GoFundMe. It's just a Growing in Faith farm. We don't have Facebook. We don't have a lot of these things that a lot of people have. So I don't even know if it's like a public deal, but if you look back at one of our videos called Off-Grid Homestead Seeking Community Involvement, we'll have the GoFundMe link there. And then I think we did another one that says like water cistern update or something like that. And it'll also have that GoFundMe link there. Also, if you'd like to just use PayPal, if you hit our YouTube page, we have a PayPal link. And you can also just hit the PayPal link because, we're not touching any of those funds. People have been very kind and trying to support us and appreciating our video content and what we're doing. And so we're very good stewards of that. And we're just waiting to get that money in a position. We're also saving to, like I said, the GoFundMe thing that we set up was for $5,000, but that's not the cost of the entire project. So we're saving our money as we have been, and we are using it, as good stewards. And then when we get everything together, we'll be diving into the full project.
Well, and I'd like to point out that they can only accept donations of $1,000 or more. That's not true. I'm just fiddling. I'm sure that you guys are grateful for anything.
We actually had one subscriber actually send us gold bullion.
Whoa.
That's awesome.
Totally cool. And we also had another person from Alaska sent us some support, but they don't use the banking system, so they sent it. We have our P.O. box listed on all of our videos in our description area, and some people have used the P.O. box to help us out that way as well.
Did you get pelts or something cool like that?
No, that's one we haven't gotten yet, but the gold bullion was definitely interesting, and it was just a good heart. The fellow has follows us. He lives in Texas, and it's a very sincere gentleman, and he really wanted to help us out. So, it's amazing. We actually did a SCOBY video. It's about making kombucha, another good fermented drink for your body, and we've sent SCOBYs to the Netherlands, Norway.
Cool.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking make it through customs, and it made it.
Yeah, we've made friends all around the country and the globe. It's amazing that people tune into our channel and then they private message us or get in touch with us. Just like Carolina Prepper, we've talked a couple times back and forth before, this conversation. And, it's just, and Josh, you guys had from the Redneck Homestead, he actually set up our website, growinginfaithfarm.com.
Cool.
And, didn't ask for anything, just said, hey, man, you guys need a website, and I'll be more than happy to set it up for you. I mean, it's just awesome, the friends and the connections that we've made since we've had our YouTube channel.
No, this is a tremendous community, and I just found that as I started to create some content, it just seems like a big family, and people are real welcoming. And I certainly appreciate the stuff you guys are doing. I actually like to share your videos, a lot of your videos, especially the ones with Stacy when she's in there talking about how to make the different. I think the one was with deodorant. I said, we got to do this, and the shampoo and the vinegar and all the things that y'all are doing. It really is a lifestyle that I think a lot of us know little to nothing about, and you are sharing some knowledge. Now, knowing where you came from and knowing where you are, what a steep learning curve it must be going from the city, a 3,000 square foot house, to an apartment, to this off-grid cabin that you built yourself. What was the learning curve like, and how long did it take for you, and especially you, Stacy, to get comfortable in that lifestyle? Was it instant? Did it take 90 days, or are you still trying to get kind of in your routine?
Yeah, we'll let Stacy answer first.
Okay. Smart.
No, I'm very comfortable now. I mean, I have to say, for me, because when we first moved out here, I was working 5 days a week, and I had to drive an hour and a half or more one way, 5 days a week, going back and forth. So that's over 3 hours commute every day.
Like living in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well, and I had to drive a lot, and that was really hard on me. Then I moved to 4 days a week, then 3 days a week, and then starting in July, I'll be working 2 days a week. Because over this time period, you realize, what things do you really need? Because as a woman, you go shopping. Oh, I'm going to get this. I got to get that. Well, I don't need all that stuff anymore. I mean, I basically need what I need to live and, and our food and all that. So it was one of those things. I would probably say the first 6 months, it took a little of adjusting. But then after that, I mean, it's just gotten easier and easier. I mean, I couldn't think of any place else to live. I always tell my husband how I could never, ever live in the city ever again. And I've lived there my whole life.
If you want to see her video, it's called The Female Perspective of Living Off Grid on our YouTube channel. And you can see when I point blank asked her about if she'd ever go back to the city, her response and how emotional it was.
Yeah. No, I do remember that. That was neat.
Do you remember the name of the title? I haven't seen that one.
That's what it is. It's called The Female Perspective of Living Off Grid.
Cool. Thank you.
But I'll have to say, the one thing for me, it was very hard, and is summers when it's hot, the 100 degrees days, it's hard. And then we found these, we were thinking, oh, can we rig up a ceiling fan or something? But we got these battery operated fans, which have totally saved our lives. So it really makes things wonderful because, it's okay to be hot and sweaty during the day, but when you try to sleep at night, it's really tough on you. So, I guess last year we started doing we found these battery operated fans, and I'm telling you that, I mean, our lives are like great compared to what they used to be. So since then, it's not so bad anymore in the summer.
The first year that we moved to the cabin, after I finished it, I worked on the cabin in June, July, and August, and it was consistently like 100 degrees plus temperatures. Then we moved into the cabin, and the next summer was like one of the hottest ones that they had and dry.
Yeah, record.
So it put us right to the test the first year. It was like brutal.
We would go in the cabin in the morning. You do your chores. We would be in the cabin all day and not move because it was so oppressive and miserable. And then get up later on, and I thought, oh my gosh, I hope I can make it. But we made it, and if we made it, and if we could do that, we could do anything.
Yeah, that was the nice thing. We got put to the test right away. But this goes back to your video you just posted about your redneck air conditioner, because you're trying to work these workarounds, and so what we decided as a unit is that the workarounds are cool, but what if you don't have access to this and that? So basically, we have to kind of recondition our bodies to accept just what's going on. I mean, when it's hot, we have to we have a pond, so we also have fish that we raise for food. So we have a pond, and we swim in it. And, you just you have to learn ways to keep yourself cool in the super hot days. And we're getting better at it. And it's really not a problem once that air conditioning, that you get that mentality of trying to stay super comfortable. So that's what, has worked for us. But I would say for me, back to the learning curve thing, if you ask my wife, I'm pretty much like when I get going on something, I mean, I'm all in. When I bought a Harley, and then my wife and I got married, and we went coast to coast, north and south. I mean, so we were all in on the Harley thing, just everything. When we started to think about living out here, it was research, and then,
Cuckoo Land. We went to Cuckoo Land, and that was so funny because I was watching one of your videos, and I think you were talking about something religious, and it was like a contentious possible thing for people watching, listening, and the cuckoo clock went off right there, and you're like, it's cuckoo clock time. It was so awesome. I was blessed.
You just got cuckooed.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I'll just put the implant in people's mind that might be watching or listening and to this YouTube video with you guys. If you come to our channel and you check out our religious stuff, it's going to be kind of in your face, and I don't make any apologies about that, but we've
seen your videos, bro. I would not expect anything less.
Right. I mean, we like to bring it to you real, and I do tons of research. My wife does tons of research, and so you might hear things, especially on the religious videos, that you've never been exposed to or never even thought about. And hopefully, my main goal is to get you thinking and pushing you in a direction where you can grow, a deeper relationship, with your walk,
Amen.
Hey, I had one question here. We're over the 30-minute mark, so we're probably going to need to wrap up here in a minute. But I saw your video yesterday with that nasty storm that came through with the golf ball size hail, and I think you said you got 4 inches of rain in 20 minutes, and you lost your crop, and you mentioned that earlier. What do you folks do? First off, how much of your food are you producing on your farm? Is it 100%? And what do you do when you lose your crop this late in the season?
Okay, so that's funny that I just kind of made a video again today about it, and I kind of gave some insight on homesteading, because I know, like, when I've been watching these interview kind of things you guys have been putting out, and I know that, you know, there's almost like this line in the sand where it's like prepper on one side and homesteader on the other. Okay, the homesteader is the original prepper. I mean, the word prepper comes from the word prepared. And the homesteader has always been preparing for tomorrow and the next month and the next year. So, you know, you can't really separate them. I mean, I know people are saying, oh, I'm not a prepper, I'm a homesteader. But the fact of the matter is that when you're homesteading, you are preparing. So you can put any kind of air quotes at the end of what you're preparing for at the end. But if you are homesteading, you are a prepper. So we lost all of our crops. I mean, basically, we're just throwing our hands up in the air for right now. Yeah, we keep getting rain. I just did another video about it. Everything is shredded out there from the hail. But when you make a crop, you know, you're also canning and fermenting and saving, you know, for the next year. It's not just the food that you're eating now, but it's a food for the future. So that's one thing to remember when you're doing this stuff. You're not just like growing food out there and you're just going to eat it that second it's growing. I mean, you're canning that and saving it for the next year until the next crops come. So it does kind of set you back a little bit, but it's not the end of the world for you. As far as producing our own food goes, we're, you know, probably not even to like 70% or something. You know, we're working towards that. We've only been out here 4 years.
Plenty of meat.
Yeah, we do raise our own beef on the property. Chicken. We have sheep that we butcher for meat, and chickens. We have meat chickens, and then we have chickens that lay eggs. So, and we have fish. We have bass and bluegill, sunfish, whatever you want to call them. So we do have all that food source. Of course, we have the honey from the bees, and pretty soon we'll have running water. And, you know, so like, you know, if the system goes down, if you want to say, I mean, we'll be able to manage. We just won't be as plump. But
I need to.
But our goal is to ultimately become, you know, 100% self-sufficient versus, you know, buying stuff like, especially food. You know, we still would probably purchase fabric and thread and, you know, that kind of stuff at the stores, you know, as long as they're functioning.
Sure.
Well, and the other thing that we're trying to do is, you know, try to start planting perennial herbs.
Is she dipping out on YouTube, bro?
Yes, sir.
Can you guys hear us? I think we've lost the call.
They'll keep coming back, and then I know all around the property, you know.
Yes.
Are you there?
I think we might have lost. I think you guys are back.
Can you hear us?
Now it sounds good. It's you guys stopped after he was talking about going to the stores and having to buy things like cloth that would be very hard for you to manufacture yourself. And then she started speaking, and that's when it went bad.
All right, okay. So she'll pick it up.
So I just said, you know, what I'm trying to do here is, you know, plant things that'll, like a food forest for perennials and things around, you know, like my Jerusalem artichokes, put them in one corner. I know they're coming back every year. And then I have my, you know, herbs that come back, your oregano and your mints and catmint and all that, you know, all the different things that I know I'm going to use. And then they'll just keep coming back over and over. That'll flavor our foods. You know, we have our nut trees, you know, we can get nuts, and just, you know, try to be more self-sufficient from what we have around here. So let's say your crops don't survive, you know, you want these things that just come back naturally to come back. So, you know, it's a process. I mean, over time, you know, we're trying to grow our fruit trees. We're trying to get everything going. You know, we've stocked our pond. You know, we have plenty of animals and eggs and things like that. So if I know I can't get any lettuce or if there's a drought, I mean, I know there's plenty of weeds and things outside that I can turn into salad. So I know I have that education that I can go and find food and forage if we need it.
Well, I'm specifically me, Brad. I'm so grateful that you guys have taken time out of your day to help us. I'm envious. I mean, I'm a guy who is, you know, a former rock star wannabe guy, you know, recording studios and, you know, doing all this kind of junk. And all of a sudden now God switched me on to figure all this stuff out. And I am personally grateful because you guys are sharing your knowledge, and I am learning a lot. And so for me personally, thank you very, very much for sharing your knowledge with us. And I'm going to turn it over to Carolina Prepper here to finish us out. But I think we just need to be a tighter knit community. I think people need to understand you don't have to be crazy to be a prepper. You don't have to be nutso to be a homesteader. That this is just something that should be a part of our lives and has just been forgotten for whatever reason.
And just two things really fast before you go, Brad. One thing is community, like you talked about, not just on YouTube, but we would actually like to have community right here on our property. If that means people coming by, you know, for 2 months or something, or if they have an RV or a camper or a tent or anything they would like to come here, we're actually, after we get the water project done and that kind of stuff, we're going to move towards building outbuildings where people can come and stay and learn this lifestyle.
Cool.
That's kind of the community hands-on experience we'd like to teach and also be involved in with people that are interested in it. And then also, what a great venue to have YouTube available for us. In today's world, that we can draw together and learn and move towards this. And, you know, hopefully we can do it at a speed that if YouTube goes down because of Big Brother and all this business, that we have enough information gathered that, you know, each person in their areas will be able to implement the information learned.
We'll have our own arc.
10-4. Hey guys, thanks again for coming on with us. We really appreciate the fact that you put it all out there on YouTube and you're showing us the real deal, how you did it, soup to nuts. And certainly we are cheering for your success on the water project as well as the projects coming down the road in front of that. So thanks again for joining us, and we will catch you next time, folks. Go over to their channel if you're not already subbed. Check them out at Growing in Faith Farm. Doug and Stacy do a great job.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. We appreciate the forum.
Thanks, man. You guys have a great day.